Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to tackle a really fascinating paradox about, one of the most vital resources on our entire planet. It's this incredible story about a country trying to tame its rivers and quench its thirst. It's a story of huge ambition, some really serious unintended consequences, and the rediscovery of some truly ancient wisdom.
All right, so let's just jump right in with a question that honestly seems to defy all logic. We live on the blue planet, right? It's covered in water. So why are we constantly hearing about droughts and water shortages? How is that even possible? Well, the answer really starts when we redefine the whole problem. See, water scarcity isn't just about a lack of rain. It's actually a much more complex crisis of management. It's about overexploitation, using water way faster than it can naturally be replenished. It's about unequal access, where some people have plenty and others have next to nothing. And this is a big one, it's about polluting our water sources to the point that they're just not safe to use anymore.
So how do we wrap our heads around this paradox? This idea of living on a blue planet that is somehow constantly thirsty? Well, the sheer amount of water on Earth, it kind of masks the reality of how little of it is actually fresh, clean, and available for us to use. 2 billion. Just let that number sink in. That's how many people are predicted to be living in absolute water scarcity by 2025. And we're not talking about some far-off, distant future here. That's basically right around the corner. This isn't just some inconvenience, It's a direct threat to our food, to public health, to entire ecosystems. So what's really driving this crisis? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is how we farm. To feed a growing planet, we're just pumping groundwater like there's no tomorrow. At the exact same time, our cities are exploding, our industries are guzzling water, and way too often, they're just dumping untreated waste right back into our rivers. So after gaining independence, the new nation of India was looking for a big, bold, modern solution to get control of its water, to power its industries, and to grow its economy. And the answer, it seemed at the time, was to build absolutely massive dams. And this idea was captured perfectly in this really powerful quote from India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. He called them the temples of modern India. You see, they weren't just seen as concrete and steel. They were powerful symbols of a new, self-reliant nation that was taming nature for the good of its people. On paper, the benefits looked endless. These projects were supposed to do it all. They'd provide a steady supply of water for farms, generate clean electricity for the cities, control devastating floods, and even create new industries like fishing. It was this grand vision of total water management. But, and you knew there was a but coming, the reality of these mega projects, it turned out to be way, way more complicated. In a lot of cases, it was actually devastating. Those temples of modern India, they started to show some really deep cracks in their foundations. And this is where things get really interesting, when you put the promise right next to the reality. So the promise was flood control. But what actually happened? The dams trapped so much natural sediment that the riverbeds downstream started to rise, which ironically has triggered even worse floods in some areas. The promise was development, but for millions of local and tribal people, it just meant being displaced, forced off their ancestral lands with their entire way of life destroyed. The bottom line is that the social and environmental price has been just unbelievably high. When you dam a river, you basically chop it into pieces, destroying the habitats for fish and other aquatic life. The massive reservoirs, they drown huge areas of forest and fertile farmland forever. And this has led to powerful, passionate social movements like the Narmada Bachao Andolan, protesting the immense human and ecological toll of these projects. And all of this brings us to this really fascinating twist in the story. What if we started looking to the past to find solutions for the future? As all the problems with these huge dams became painfully clear, people in India began to rediscover some of these traditional, time-tested ways of conserving water. It turns out, instead of these gigantic, top-down projects, the answer might be in much smaller, community-run systems that work with nature, not trying to fight it. For centuries, people all across India had developed these brilliant, ingenious structures that were perfectly designed for their specific local environment. Okay, so let's take a quick trip around the country to see what this looks like. Up in the Himalayas, you've got farmers building these simple channels to divert water from streams to their fields. Out in the deserts of Rajasthan, households collected every drop of rain from their roofs into these amazing underground tanks. In the floodplains of Bengal, they actually used the river's own floodwaters to irrigate their fields.
And get this, in Meghalaya, there's a 200-year-old system that uses bamboo pipes to create a super efficient drip irrigation system. Just brilliant.
And here's where it gets really cool. This shows how you can take these ancient ideas and scale them up into actual, modern, effective policy. Tamil Nadu became the first state in India to make rooftop rainwater harvesting mandatory for every single house. They actually have laws to punish people who don't do it. It's just a fantastic example of blending that traditional wisdom with modern government.
So we'll end on that thought. India's whole journey with water has really shown the limits of trying to force one single massive solution onto a really diverse and complex landscape. And it raises a critical question, not just for India, but for all of us. As we face a future with less and less water, should we be looking to build even bigger concrete projects? Or should we look to the quiet, resilient, and sustainable wisdom that maybe we've known about all along?